Is there going to be any opportunity for the small investor to invest in this project on a direct basis, or is it more directed towards the larger investor, perhaps to give the locals a bit more ownership of the project?
So the establishment of a community fund?
Something along those lines.
Thanks, Kevin. At this stage, it is subject to commercial developers coming in and deciding how, I guess, it's going to be funded. There's plenty of potential for funding to come from smaller areas to build up into a larger amount to actually then make something happen. So if you're talking about whether it's a Big W or a Target sort of area, you might be talking about a $20 million spend to get something like that up and running. How's that funded? Well, you may get one person come in and actually fund it, or you may find that there's groups that sit behind that sort of flow the funds through to actually accommodate that. So there's not one answer. It'll be project by project basis. The retail part is one area. You've then got the other developments that happen down in the business precinct as well. So there'll be obviously different parts that go on down there, even in relation to magistrates' courts and things like that. How that is ultimately funded as well is something that state government will give some thought to along the way. And again, is it a lease sort of arrangement back as distinct from them owning it in the future, and how's that done will all depend on the commercial reality of it.
Did you want to
I'd like to make a comment on that.
Look, that's an interesting question, Kevin, and I think it's a good question. An observation that I made earlier on, what normally happens in these cases, and Devonport has done this in the past, I think it's common with pretty much all councils, that they'll sit down, work out a plan as to what they might like to do, have a little bit of a vision, and ask for expressions of interest. And hope that there's going to be this wonderful great developer, Harvey Norman's going to come bouncing along and spend mega dollars and build that. But reality is when that doesn't very often happen. You see lots of pictures on the front page of the newspaper. Not too many of them quite ever get to be real. And I think the reason they don't happen is because that if they're looking for that developer to come along, the developer's looking at what's good for them. They don't really care too much about what's good for your region. It's more about what works for them. And this is really one of the fundamental things I think it's important you understand how the council have gone about this. They have retained ownership of this. They have kept the ownership. That's where they've committed to invest their money to get it to this point, so that they are owning this whole thing and taking it right through to a point where it is real, and then they can look at taking certain bits of it and offering it out there to an investor to get involved. And I think at that point in time, that then allows creative people in our community to get together, little syndicates or whatever, to be a part of that, because all of that upfront stuff's been done. And it's really then just a matter of getting on and getting the finance and making it happen. And that's a really important point, I think, about the fundamental difference of how this has been approached. And at the end of all of that, I think an important thing to understand is too, that a developer is always looking to make a dollar out of it, obviously. And if council have kept a hold of this and owned this, then at the end of the day, I think that they are sharing in that dollar, and that's going back to the ratepayers, going back to the community. So that's a really important point.
So you can see, Kevin, with your millions of dollars that you've squirreled away, there'll be opportunity in the future for you.